Okay class, today we are going to learn how to set up a scale. A scale is used when we want to compare weights, and you can find out what weighs the least, or you can find out what weighs the most, or you can even find out what weighs the same amount, and you can balance the two items. Our scale is pretty easy to use. It has two bins on it that we can put our objects in, and that way if you're using marbles they won't roll off. Some scales just have flat surfaces like these if you're using objects that won't roll right off the side of them. So we can put these right in the holes here and they'll stay in there. They'll be very sturdy. The other thing about our scale is we have this needle on it. This needle will sway side to side when we put in objects, and it will show us how far off the scale is from perfectly balanced. And this long needle here, it's really hard to see, but there's a long center needle for perfectly balanced items. The other part about our scale is that it comes with its own weights. We've got grams in ours that include something as small as 1 gram, and we also have our tallest item of 50 grams. These can be used in comparison to one another, where we can put 50 grams in one and 30 grams in the other. So you can use those two weights. Or we don't really need to limit ourselves to just our scale. We can use anything with our scales to weigh them and compare things. We can use our teddy bears that we have in class. We can use our block manipulatives that we have in class. Anything that we can put in and have an interest in finding out the weight is something that will work for us. The other part on our scale back here that we won't really work with, but just so you know that it's there, is kind of an offset where you can slide this to one side of the scale and it will automatically put weight on the side of the scale it's towards. And this can just be useful for knowing how to balance a scale, and that's called setting something to 0, where it will be perfectly balanced. But we'll mainly focus just with our simple uses of our scale with the needle, and we've got our weights and our bins. So we'll start to use that in class over the next week or so and continue learning about scales and weights.
20 nickels is $1, and 100 pennies is $1.
I don't know.
Okay class, now that you've learned how a scale works, we're going to be demonstrating the different weights of different manipulatives. We can use the same manipulatives and distribute the weight evenly between those, or we can use different manipulatives such as the blocks and the teddy bears to figure out the weight balance between the two.
Well, now what we're going to do is I'm going to try to find out the weight of 3 teddy bears in comparison to the 2 blocks.
What we'll do is we'll put each block in individually until we start to see movement in the scale. We can look at the needle to show us how even our blocks are. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks are the equivalent weight as 3 small teddy bears. Now let's compare the weight of one of our grams. We'll do 5 grams compared to blocks.
And I'm going to start putting blocks in until the scale balances. Well, according to the scale, 2 of our blocks weighs
the equivalent to 5 grams.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to step up to bigger teddy bears. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 2 larger teddy bears, and we're going to try to find the weight of how many blocks that 2 teddy bears weigh.
And I will continue to put 1 block in at a time. That way we're able to see any movement that the scale makes. I know now that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks is too heavy and offsets the balance of 2 large teddy bears. So what I'll do now is I'll start taking blocks out until the weight is even. So I'll look at my needle, and according to the needle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks is the equivalent weight of 2 large teddy bears. Now we will compare the weight of 3 small teddy bears to the grams.
I'm going to put the grams on this side to find out how many grams. That looks like that is too big, so I'm going to try to use some of the smaller to balance out. I'm going to keep putting the weights in here until we find something that
According to our scales, 3 small teddy bears is equal to in weight as 24 grams. Now let's compare same objects. I will put in 6 blocks.
And I will put 6 blocks over here.
This is an easy way to compare 2 objects and just to see if your scale is set right. We know that 6 of the same blocks are going to equal the same. Now we know that our scale is set up right because it shows that they're both equal.